Welcome to You Can Call Me Goddess, because you're so much more than a queen. My name is Manouk Vink. I am a trained intuitive energy healer specialized in transforming your body and your life. In this podcast, we are going to be diving into everything to unlock the goddess that you are within you. Think of it as the ultimate glow up from the inside out. It's time to unlock your power. It's time to unlock your magic. So sit back and enjoy the show. Hello, beautiful, and welcome back to another You Can Call Me Goddess podcast. And in today's episode, we are going to get a little bit spicy and in a little bit of what has been called taboo, or something that not many of us feel too comfortable always talking about, but it has been calling to me. So I actually was going to record this podcast 2 days ago. And we had a fun little reflection, but also I think the universe intervened because I needed to get this download. I needed to get this feeling to talk about this topic today. I have been super intrigued by diving into this topic, and I feel like a lot of people will gain a lot of value by having a deeper understanding about this topic, because it isn't talked about very frequently in this way, especially when we look at it in a spiritual way, in an energetic way, as well as the fact that it is just something that, some of us feel a little bit shy talking about or diving into. And me, in some ways, yes. In other ways, no. There is some times where I feel totally comfortable talking about this topic, and other moments where I want to keep it classy and I don't want to talk about it in this way. But so today, if you haven't guessed it already from the way that I'm talking, we are going to be talking about sexual energy and intimacy. And I've just been, I don't know about you, but I've been feeling this energy. I've been feeling it lately, and it's been, it's been like more potent, more there than ever before. So I was asking Source for some guidance and my higher self for some guidance on, what do I need to talk about in my next podcast? What do people need to hear today, or what should I dive deeper into? And even though as I was diving into certain topics, and I even wrote an article last week about, the universe being like your boyfriend, being like your partner. And I had this beautiful download about how the universe literally is partially that masculine energy that we are looking for, that holds us, that courts us, that allows us to be who we want to be, that is waiting for us to fully unlock ourselves so that it can fully present itself to us. And I had this download, and I was writing it out, and I was like, oh my God, this is I was feeling it. It was so good. I was like, this is wild. I didn't even realize, everything just sort of clicked into place. And then I kept going a little bit down that rabbit hole, and I kept getting more downloads. And then I saw this video about sexual energy, and I was like, okay, I hear you loud and clear. This is what we need to be talking about today. And I even want to talk about this because it's something that I'm exploring. So I want to take you guys on this journey with me as I explore this, as I dive deeper into this topic, something that I know that I'm also trying to navigate within my own relationship, within myself, something that has been, a big topic, because without us really knowing it, sex and intimacy is extremely reflective, and it is one of our most vulnerable moments. But the problem with sexual energy and sex and intimacy is that we don't actually fully comprehend. I don't think we even know fully how powerful that energy is. A lot of us disconnect from it and don't actually see what we're doing, how we're generating energy when it comes to being intimate with someone else. Look, I'm not that type of person. I am not very quick I've never been one to have, I guess, a slutty period of my life. I have not been. And I mean, if you have, 100%, you do you, because it's all part of your process and what you need to experience. And the more you start realizing how this works, the more you start understanding why maybe you've also been through that period. It is every each and every one of us has a specific journey to uncover and unfold and find what it is that, brings them life, brings them joy. And also these experiences allow you to grow. Now, I'm going to explain a little bit about this. In what I want to talk about today is I want to talk about the real source perspective on sexual energy as I understand it and as far as I understand it so far. Because I think there is so much more to dive into, but this is what I've gotten so far. And this is what I understand of it so far. And I think we are only scratching the surface of what this entails and what it is. And I can't wait to dive into more of this, discover more of this, and find out more about what we can actually do with sexual energy. So when we look at sexual energy, the majority of us, a lot of us only see it as something that's pleasurable for us, right? It's either just pleasurable for us. It has even been chalked up to be like something that is a sin, lust being a sin, something being negative, that we shouldn't desire it too much, even in some spiritual practices to not at all be sexual or at least restrain from pleasuring yourself and engaging in sexual acts, restraining from that in order to generate more energy within yourself. Or there's other ways, in religions where they talk about it because it is, unholy, or I don't know, like something along those lines. Look, I've never grown up religiously, so I can't speak too much about what has been taught there. I've only heard about what has been spoken about in those communities and those religions. So, and I'd love to dive into my perspective at some point for those of you who also have not been brought up religiously, but now do believe in God, channel source and God, believe in all of this. So that is something that I'd love to dive into if that's something you guys are interested in. But today I want to look at this topic a little bit and take away maybe the taboo from it, allow an open space for you guys to ask your questions about this, because that is going to allow me to dive deeper into this topic, because I'm feeling so inspired by this topic and excited, and I feel like it is such a vital part of being that goddess, of tapping into who you are, because sexual energy, intimacy, your divine feminine energy, that power that holds within, that creator energy, because that is what it is one of the most beautiful things. And the more I find out about it, the more I get excited about it. And I'm going to start sharing that with you today. So when I actually started channeling a little bit on sexual energy and I started researching a little bit more about this, and funnily enough, I had been to someone who specialized in this because of some relationship stuff that I had gone through a couple of years ago. And I had a course that she had also provided me about this. And this was mainly about my own body and discovering my own body as a woman, and, all of this. And it's so much more powerful than I even imagined. And when I was going through this content, I started realizing that especially also when you're intimate with yourself, right? You have to open up and be super vulnerable. And in those moments, I am sure maybe you felt that before. It's almost like if you're not confident with your body, if you're not confident with who you are, if you don't feel deserving of that joy, that pleasure, that intimacy, it can feel awkward to be intimate with yourself. And back then, when I received this course, I remember I felt uncomfortable being intimate with myself. I felt extremely uncomfortable. I felt awkward. I felt, no, this is something that someone else needs to do with me. This is something that someone else needs to get me to feel. And I was basically giving my power away in that moment, and also not validating or being able to give it to myself. Now, one of the things that I've discovered learning about spirituality, learning about spiritual tools, learning about universal laws, so laws of the universe, is that in order for you to receive something and get something from the universe, you need to be able to give it to yourself first. So discovering this, you realize that, okay, if I'm asking my partner to be intimate with me, but I can't even be intimate with myself, I can't even love my body, I can't even get to know my own body and see what I like, because the majority of people probably only know their body at maybe what's coming through right now, like 12%. And even when I looked in, there's so much more to explore there with getting to know my body. And if you don't even know your body, how can you expect your partner to know your body? So when we're looking at what you are achieving intimately with your partner, you're probably only tapping into maybe 2%, 4% of what you can be capable of creating intimately together. And part of that, if not the majority of it, if not 90% of that, comes down to how you treat yourself, how you know your body, how you love your body. And this goes with everything, right? If you can't give it to yourself, if you don't feel like you're deserving of it, if you don't know your own stuff and feel like you already have it, then the universe cannot give it to you. We obviously have like the honeymoon phases in relationships in the beginning where all the hormones are like high and like everything is still exciting and new. And I'm going to go into that because it's going to explain a little bit about more of the energy, about sexual energy and what's behind that. But all of that is still exciting and fun. And we dive into that. And it's also kind of showing us the potentials of what we're capable of opening up, because if we don't know what is accessible, then we'll never want to even access it, right? It's like one of those things where we need kind of the carrot to be dangled in front of us so that we know what we can start to open up. But then it fades because later on in relationships, relationships are extremely reflective. And in the beginning, everything is still new, exciting, because we need to kind of get into that fun space, right? And then as we go through relationships become extremely reflective for us. They show us exactly where our emotional imbalances are. So as we go through the relationship becomes more reflective, because relationships are a very, very strong tool in letting us know where our emotional imbalances are. And one of the most effective ways in which we can get to know where our emotional imbalances are is through intimate moments. Intimate moments, when you're together with each other and you're about to get intimate, you are basically laying yourself bare completely. And I don't know about you, but I'm sure you have had experiences where it's extremely awkward, where you don't feel comfortable, where it's you're extremely aware of your body. Now, there is almost no other situation like that where you're that vulnerable, that open energetically, and putting yourself out there in such a way, in such a vulnerable space, than in moments like that. So when we look at intimacy and what it means energetically, there's a lot that intimacy tells us. So I'm going to start dissecting a little bit each and every component, but in general, we're going to start with when you're struggling to be intimate with a partner. There are multiple reasons for that. If you have a deeper understanding of reflections by now, hopefully, if not, reach out to me so I can guide you in the right direction to get information on understanding those reflections. When it comes to the reflective component of that, when there's different ways of looking at this, right? So if you're struggling to be intimate, there could be a multitude of things going on here. So for example, if you are not feeling fulfilled in your life and you are not seeing the passion, the fun, the playfulness, the excitement, think of what intimacy brings, right? The excitement, the fulfillment and the joy in your life, then you are not going to desire any intimacy, because that is what intimacy stands for. So when you're struggling with intimacy in a relationship or in general, and we get more specific depending on your situation, that means that you are not seeing that in your life. So the intimacy area of your life is reflecting how you are feeling about your life in general. Now, obviously, when I look in intuitively, we can get more specific and precise on these things. Like, for example, I can hear some of you asking, okay, but what if I feel like I want to be intimate, but outside of the relationship and not within the relationship? Though that means that there is somewhere where you're subconsciously or consciously thinking that life will get better outside of your current situation. So the current situation, the current circumstances that you are in right now, that is repelling you. And so the idea of something exciting and fulfilling outside of you, that seems more interesting and more enticing, more attractive, more sexy, more passionate. So we put like the grass is greener on the other side. And that's why we think that. And so when you do that, what ends up happening is if you were to follow through with that, then you kind of feel like in your current situation, you are not whole. So you're looking for that wholeness outside of yourself. And so what you do, and if you do venture out and you are intimate outside of your relationship, and now that happens, what's going to happen is eventually that same issue is going to come up within that relationship, because it's not the relationship that you're unhappy with. It is, and the intimacy in the relationship, it's how you're viewing your life. So you're not seeing the intimacy, you're not seeing the passion, you're not seeing the attractiveness in your life right now. Now, there are so many things that go into this, because when we actually energetically look at sexual energy, what does it stand for? It is so much more than just procreation. It is so much more than just pleasure. Like, it goes so much deeper than that. When you look at sex and being intimate, and yeah, I don't know another word for it right now. It is literally the act of creating new life. Now, intuitively, I recently discovered that sex is only meant for procreation 4% of the time. So 4% of sexual activity is meant for procreation, which is absolutely mind-blowing, because here we are, we're being taught that this is what we need to do, and that's why we have the drive to do it, when in reality it is so much more powerful than just to procreate new life. Sexual energy is one of the most potent energies, especially when you're both in a high frequency state and you are in the best state ever. And basically, when you come together, two people in that format, you are generating so much beautiful creator power. Now, because we don't know that we are capable of this, we are not tapping into what we are capable of creating. Now, intuitively, what I'm understanding from this and what I've discovered from this could lead to so much more than just the pleasure that we're tapping into. This could lead into potentially healing the body. This could lead into amplifying certain amounts of energy that we hold within ourselves. It is a creator power. When we are in this act, we are generating energy to create new life. Now, that life that we are creating does not necessarily need to be another human life. That creator power could be directed into something else that you are creating. That could be directed into a new healing that you're creating, a new product that you're creating, a new business that you're creating. It could be directed into whatever you decide it to be. Now, I was reading another article on sex magic, and I don't know who of you have heard of this, but for me, I'd heard of it, but I didn't realize what it fully entailed until I started diving into this. And everything just started to make so much sense. I was like, okay, so basically when we are in this sexual energy, we are in this ecstatic energy where we are transmuting this energy into something. So when you're reaching your climax in that state, right? You are directing that energy somewhere. And if it's not directing to creating a new life, then you are directing that energy into creating something else. This energy and the creator power of it is so incredibly potent and powerful, yet we don't even know probably 5% of what we can do with this energy. Now, as I was diving into the content that I had received from this sexologist that I was diving into, and she worked, she was also a little bit more energetic with the way that she approached things, and I was listening to this, and the more I started realizing that each and every component of being intimate with yourself, tapping into sexual energy, all of that stuff, I realized it was so metaphorical for and probably not even just metaphorical, it's like just how it is for everything that we do in life. So if you think about this energy and being in that state, when you're fully relaxed, when you're fully receiving of this energy and fully present in that energy, does that not translate how you should be in life when you're trying to create something in life, right? You want to be present. You want to be fully relaxed. You want to be in a receiving state. You also want to be in full control at the same time while being able to lose control and let whatever be. And I started realizing this because a technique that she was even mentioning was like, instead of rushing towards the end, instead of rushing towards the end goal of the experience, try and be present. Breathe through the waves of pleasure that you're experiencing. And I started realizing, I was like, that's what we need to do in life anyways. And playing around with it, I realized we want to rush towards the end and experience the end goal, the climax at the end, instead of experiencing the beauty of the journey and the enjoyment and the pleasure that amplifies and grows and grows and grows and grows, so that you have this cascading effect of so much more than what you are tapping into right now, because you're trying to rush to the end. You're trying to make it to the end instead of breathing through the process, allowing that creator power to build, allowing it to intensify, allowing it to amplify, and then reaching the end and experiencing so much more than you could even imagine. And I started thinking about this and I was like, this is actually so powerful. And here we are being told that it is taboo. It's not that important. It is vulgar. It's taboo. It's not something that we should be talking about. It's something that shouldn't be, indulged in because it's lustful. Of course, there are truths to that, right? There are truths to that where we are giving too much away of ourselves the more we engage in it for the wrong reasons. And I would like to dive a little bit into that as well. But it makes so much sense when you start thinking about it. Why wouldn't we know about this? Well, duh, because if we knew that it was this powerful of an energy, that it could lead to us potentially healing certain things that we couldn't heal before, that it would generate more power, especially together than alone, and we started actually realizing and connecting with our body and feeling in our body, and even through the process of being intimate, finding out certain blocks and experiences in the body and releasing them, and fully understanding and tapping into the pleasure and the joy that we can experience in our life now, and using that power to literally manifest and create things. Of course we wouldn't learn about that, because why would the powers at the top, the dark elite, want us to know that? That would be incredibly dangerous for them if we knew that, because that means, oh, now we know another superpower that we hold on to. So we, of course, are taught to diminish it. Of course, are taught to freely give it away and just, disconnect fully from the meaning of a union like that. And everything just starts to fall into place more and more and more. And I'm starting to realize how much more powerful this is. Like when you think of ecstasy, and I looked up the word, I was like, okay, because ecstasy is what comes to mind. Complete presence, complete being completely present, and you're entering a meditative state without even having to do you know what I'm saying? Like you're just instantly in that moment. When you're in that climaxing moment, you're instantly in this ecstasy, in this meditative state where you are fully receiving and enjoying and fully in that energy. And when I looked up the word, there's multiple descriptions, but one of the things that came through, and I was like, yes, that's it. One of the things that came through was like a deep spiritual connection, union with God. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, don't we see how powerful this energy is? And I got so excited. I was like, this is wild. There is so much to discover about this. And how amplifying this creator energy is. I started talking to someone else, and I remembered even somebody else that I had spoken to about, they wanted to conceive, they wanted to have a baby. And I had someone else who was dreaming about being pregnant, and I had a dream about being pregnant. And then when I intuitively looked in, it had nothing to do with wanting to have a baby. And I realized that this is literally a way in which we tap into that energy, and instead of creating a life, we're creating something new, like a business, like success, like growth, like something that you are wanting to tap into. So sometimes when you are having these dreams, or you are desiring to have a baby or a child, or you actually feel that sexual energy more than before, and I don't know about you, but I mean, it's been more present lately. And when you feel that energy more and more, it actually means that you are tapping into this creator power, that you're tapping into this desire to create something, that you are wanting to fully show who you are to the people around you, because that's what it is. You are fully being present with who you are. You are fully exposing yourself in the best way possible, right? In the most vulnerable way possible, and generating that energy. It is a way of tapping into the most potent and powerful creator energy. And this ties in with the article that I wrote, and I called it, you can find it on Substack. I called it When You Start Calling the Universe Daddy. That's what I called it. And I was like, it's so wild, because when we look at that and we look at the feminine and the masculine energy, right? The feminine energy is that creator energy. It's that intuitive energy. It's what births life. It's nourishing. It's warm, but it's also erratic, chaotic, volatile, but beautiful all at the same time. Now, to be in a space where you are able to do that, fully be yourself, fully be volatile, creative, beautiful, and wild, nourishing, and creating life all at the same time, in order to do that, feel safe, feel in control, yet being out of control fully, you need a container that holds that. And in order to have that container, you need to feel safe enough, secure enough to be that. And I realized when you start trusting in the universe, when you start trusting in source, and source gives you that container and gives you that space and gives you that openness to fully embrace and be and embody and feel and experience life to the fullest, because you've decided to land in who you are and what you're capable of creating and seeing your perfection. Once you allow yourself to be that, the universe will unlock itself once you are ready for it to be unlocked, basically. And tying that back into this sexual energy piece, I realized that is where that all comes from. To feel safe to do that, you need to hold that within yourself. And no other person, yes, they can be supporting character in that, but they will only show up in your life to be that space, to be that container, once you have realized that you are deserving of that container, once you have realized that you are worthy of that space and that creator power. And there's so much to dissect. Like, literally, this is only like part of what we can dissect when it comes to sexual energy and what it means and what it reflects in your life. I myself have struggled with this in the past. I grew up abroad, and as a Dutch girl, I've always been very tall, and I struggled with, it's no secret that I struggled with my body image. I always felt larger, and I, for that reason, felt masculine a lot of the time. And so I felt extremely disconnected from that feminine side of myself, and that didn't make me feel safe or worthy of that type of love, right? That type of intimacy. Now, as I went through relationships and I discovered that when I was in relationships and I didn't get that intimacy from a partner or that desire, it was almost like I wasn't worthy of it. And I needed that component in a relationship in order to know that I was valuable, that I was beautiful, that I was worthy. And so there was an imbalance because I was relying on that to show me whether I was worthy, valuable, or desirable. Now that flipped 180 in the last couple of years where I realized that I am desirable. I have an inner knowing that I am. I've been tapping more in that feminine energy and realizing my worth, my value, my beauty, and all of that. And everything started to change, right? It's flipped 180. Now there's new challenges to discover because it's something that I'm obviously needing to discover and realize and figure out what it all means. But this is what this shows us. There are people that go out and they do use intimacy with multiple partners to find that fulfillment. They replace the fulfillment in their life with fulfillment in partners because they are not seeing the joy, the pleasure, the attraction, the fun in their life, and this is their form and way of getting it, only to probably find out that it's not going to fulfill that feeling within. It's trying to fill a void that can't be filled unless you can start seeing how you hold that within yourself. And there's so many components to that because it is such an energetic act when you are, and you're so vulnerable when you're both together in that act, being intimate. All your energetic shields are down. You're literally fully bare and naked in front of the other person, and you're allowing them to fully enter your energy, right? Fully, 100%. So on an energetic level, you are 100% exchanging energies. Now, with my first spiritual mentor or my first coach, I discovered that energy can stick with you for 7 years from partners. I think now that I actually intuitively look in deeper, I think that energy, you give soul pieces of yourself away in those moments. And unless you know how to energetically get those soul pieces back, which you can learn how to do, we do that in my programs and I can help you get those soul pieces back. You won't get those soul pieces back. You literally are giving your energy, that creator, that beautiful, potent creator energy to someone else that might not. Well, nobody should be holding your energy anyways. You should always have your own energy with you. Like, this is another misconception in the spiritual world, especially amongst like empathetic people, which if you're listening to this, you are 100% an empathetic person because you want to help other people. So we think if we give some of our energy away to someone else, we help them. But in reality, you should never be giving energy away because when you're giving energy away, you're giving pieces of yourself. So when you're giving pieces of yourself, you can't 100% be at your 100% in order to help the other person. And there's so much more to that, right? Like, listen to the podcast, I think it was about energy vampires, where I talk about that. Now, this is where when you're intimate with someone, you're literally connecting with them energetically. You're courting into them energetically. You're giving pieces of yourself away. Now, I don't want you to panic because there are techniques and tools in order to get that energy back. That doesn't mean that then you should just freely still, without thinking about it, maybe go out and do that, unless it's like maybe part of your soul lesson to experience these things. Like, look, we all have our own path in these ways. But it is just something that I think is so important to be aware of, that you're giving this vulnerable, this powerful energy to someone else. It's like almost like you're giving it away to someone who is not deserving of that energy, because your energy is so freaking beautiful and amazing and powerful. Like, you want to use that energy to connect with someone who's worthy of that energy, that is going to allow you to amplify it, that is going to allow you to tap into that energy and transmute it into something more beautiful, more powerful, more greater, and something that you never even realized was possible. And this, the more I dive into this, the more I discover about this, I realize that it is such an essential piece to being in this realm, being human, experiencing these things, and it's been disregarded. It's almost been spoken about like it's not it's an animalistic thing. So it's being degraded. And again, of course they degrade it, because if we actually realized how much power we could generate with it, then that would not be good for the people that are trying to control us and keep us down, right? But it's just crazy the more I discover that it's so much more than just pleasure and desire and lust and creating new life. It is literally like the most potent, powerful creator energy. With that being said, there's something else that I found extremely interesting when I discovered it. And I was listening to a podcast about this from where my mentor was talking about this topic. And he mentioned that there as well, like when you think about intimacy and all of these things, and you think about the spiritual, there's a lot of like spiritual understandings about retaining that creator energy, because it's so powerful and it's so potent that you should hold on to it and channel it into something else. Well, when I discovered this, it made so much sense. Again, tying back into, if you cannot give it to yourself, then you can't get it from anybody else. That's a misconception, because just like with anything, if you put too much pressure on something, it explodes. If there is not enough pressure on something, you won't create anything, right? So there has to be this beautiful balance where you can intuitively look in and see how many times you should literally climax in a week in order to tap into that creator energy and use it to your benefit, while also not letting too much gas out of the tank, kind of a thing. Because it's, again, something that where you can start to get to know your body on a whole nother level and actually realize what your body needs, what your body likes, and all of that stuff. And not only does that unlock so much more power within your relationships, within your intimate relationships, but also with you getting to know your body on a whole nother level. Like intuitively, it could let you know where you're experiencing blocks, why you're experiencing blocks, because these situations can be so extremely reflective. Like if you can't feel like you can release or climax or get to that point, then there is a block with you allowing yourself to experience full, unapologetic pleasure and enjoyment in your life. If you can't fully relax and be present in those moments, that is telling you something about how you can't relax and be present in your life. And again, with the body, like if you can't give yourself that type of love, that type of intimacy, that means that you don't feel deserving of that type of love and that type of intimacy. Now, realizing and understanding these things is not only going to change your intimate relationships, but it's going to change all other parts of your life. Because in order to enjoy our life, we want to unlock those things. We want to get to the core of what has been blocking those areas, those vulnerable areas of yourself. And this is where we can look in intuitively and actually see, okay, why are you struggling with this? What do we need to do on a deeper level? And it won't be necessarily in your sex life where you're going to have to necessarily change anything. It might just be that you need to start perceiving your life with a new lens, start working through where you're experiencing those blocks in your life. Even with that creator energy, right? If you feel blocked with being able to tap into intimacy, whether it's with your partner, whether it's within you, then that probably means you are struggling to create in life right now. You're maybe struggling in your business, in your career, in something new that you want to unlock in your life because you can't access the creator energy, and your intimate area of life is showing you and reflecting to you that you cannot access that. And once you do, you start implementing that. We start uncovering what it is that is blocking you there. You can start unlocking that passion, that excitement, that power from within. And I don't know. It's just, I want to discover more about this. And I'm so excited to dive deeper into this topic because I just realized how much it makes sense, how powerful it is that we literally, when two people come together in that way, can generate an entire new life. Like, what the hell? Like, actually think about that. Like, that is wild. And that as a woman, we literally hold the portal. We hold the temporary in-between space before that new life enters this realm. Now, if we have that energy to generate an entire new human life, to generate a space that a soul is fighting to get into, right? Because they're fighting to be in this realm. I know you probably like, why? What the hell? Maybe we can talk a little more about that in upcoming webinar with a guest that I'll be having next week. But they're literally fighting to be in this realm, and you hold that space. You hold that power to create that life. Now, if that energy is just being wasted almost, it's almost just being, it's never wasted because there's an unlimited, like, energy is never destroyed, wasted, or destroyed, or can't be created or destroyed. Now, you can literally use that energy to transmute. You're in a deep meditative ecstatic state in those moments. You can transmute that energy to create so much more than just that. That is incredibly powerful. And that is one of the most beautiful things that I can think of. Like, when you reach that climax, when you reach that state, you can direct that energy, you can channel that energy into something that you want to create in this life. And that is how powerful you are. So no, it is not just lust. It is not just desire, a vulgar desire, like in a negative way. It is not something that we should be ashamed of. Oh my God, the stories that I can tell you. I don't know about you, but I remember in the teenage, oh, this is me being super vulnerable with you guys, but I remember in my teenage days, and I'm sure you can all identify when all that starts working. All that energy starts working and you start feeling all the feels, and exploring that and feeling the shame, the incredible shame of, playing around with that feeling and exploring my own body and all of that stuff, and the shame around it that the conscious collective has put on us. Well, it's all starting to make sense now. And even when it comes to like pornography and stuff like that, like me personally, I guess I've explored it when I was like younger in the beginning, obviously, intrigued and trying to figure that all out. But also there, you're literally giving that energy away. And even though you're just watching energetically, you're still giving pieces of your energy away when you watch these things. And I've always known there was something off about it. Like, it's also, again, when you think about that, it's like you're not using your own energy. You're, again, giving it to something else. And it's, I don't know. It's just a little like, it's like, again, it's this beautiful, powerful, potent energy that you have, this intimate, vulnerable, beautiful, powerful energy that you have. And you're just like, I don't even know how to explain it. Just, that's it. Like, I feel like it's, I don't know. I don't know where I want to go with this, but I'm sure you understand what I'm trying to say. I feel like energetically you guys feel what I'm trying to say. It's like just such a waste. And of course they would generate that because it would deplete on our energy. It would deplete our powerful energy. We wouldn't know the value. We would be distracted by all of this and use it in a negative way, because obviously there's also a lot of like dark, absent of light ways that this gets used because it is so powerful. So I think exploring this and getting to understand your body on a whole nother level, getting to understand the sexual energy on a whole nother level, realizing that it is so much more. It is the full expression of yourself. It is complete freedom. It is complete ecstasy. It is complete creator power. It is complete power to generate, transmute, and manifest the things that you desire. It is a deep sense of presence within the body. And if you can't be present fully within the body during those moments, all of these situations, the way that you experience these situations, what you're going through in relationships and with a partner or by yourself, it is telling you a deeper story about how you're feeling about your life, different areas of your life. And when we can start using that to our advantage and start actually uncovering, not only will you experience more pleasure and more intimacy, and you can actually tap into what you can generate in those sexual relationships with that intimacy, but also start using this energy in way more ways than you think is possible. And I hope you guys are as excited to go on this journey as I discover more about this. And please feel free to ask any questions, anything that comes to mind. This is going to give me some direction and maybe think of things that I would have never thought of to discover and explore, because I would love to dive deeper into this topic if that is something that you guys are interested in. The more I play around with this, also being in my romantasy era, the more I realize how much of these things are so much deeper, so much more powerful, so much more a part of our superpowers, our gifts, than I ever thought and obviously ever knew. And I can't wait to use all of that in order to access all the things that I know that we can access, but I just need to start discovering them with you, and you guys need to start discovering them. And I think it's the most exciting and fun thing. And I literally can't wait. All right, beautiful. Thank you so much for sitting with me while I dissect this and uncover this and get excited about this. And I hope that this allowed you to click some things into place the way that it did for me. And like I said, feel free to add anything, tell me anything about this topic, or ask any questions on this, and I will 100% go deeper on this if that is something that you guys enjoy. No pun intended. Okay. Thank you so much, and I hope to see you in the next episode. Have a wonderful rest of your day, evening, or night. Thank you so much for listening to You Can Call Me Goddess. I am so happy that you joined us in this show today. If you feel like this podcast gave you any sort of life change or value, then share it with someone you think would also get a lot of value out of it, because maybe it could just be that one thing that changes that person's life. If you enjoyed the show, please give it a nice rating below or in the show, because we would love to expand more on topics that you enjoy and keep this podcast up and running. Anyways, thank you, beautiful, and I hope to see you in the next podcast.